because I don't want to give you guys a longer test than the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because I'd like to be able to kind of, compare the two sections. And so, I have a better sense of what's a fair test and what's a fair assessment overall if I have more students to look at, Okay, so I hope that wasn't too surprising. If it was, I'm sorry, but I hope it wasn't. Let's see here. So can you hit the lights for me in the back for a second? Thanks. So this here is a announcement I just posted in course content. Basically, it says that if you look at, in Blackboard, if you look at in course content now, you'll find the statement of the quiz you just took, the quiz from the other section I gave last week, and the solutions for both. So that way you have, twice as much to look at. The quiz I gave to the other section, very similar to yours, but not exactly the same. I went a slightly different direction there. Yours I intentionally made shorter. All right, so let's talk about the quiz then. Now, let's see here, this one, right? So, I'll just say, before I even get into the quiz, I just graded the homework, mission 1 and 2 for both sections yesterday, and so there are some general comments I should make. Number 1, I regret not putting the instructions to box your answer at the start of my assignment. That would have been helpful to me. So I should ask you to box your answer, right? Otherwise, I'm hunting for it. Let's see. The other thing is, I really do need you to print out the. I really do need you to print out the homework statement and work on the homework. I mean, if it's too small for you, you need to work it out and put the answer there. That's fine, but put the work right after that page so I can follow along. It's much harder for me to grade when people just use paper and just do free form. The questions. I can't tell which one goes with which. It's much harder for me to grade. So I really would like for you to print these out and work on them. That's why I make them. So there will be a mission 3, mission 4 that I'll be posting once we get past this test 1, right? Let's see here. The other thing is more content-based. There is a lot of people are confused about the difference between, say, an expression versus an equation, right? When you're asked to simplify an expression, right, the answer should be like a formula, right? It'll be something involving x, perhaps. In contrast, when you're asked to, and what are places where an answer is an expression? Like if I say factor completely a polynomial, the answer is an expression, right? It's a formula using x. In contrast, if we were to say solve an equation, then the answer would be like a number. I see a lot of you taking a question which is supposed to be about an expression and just either setting it equal to 0 or setting it equal to 1 to convert it to an equation. But this is neither helpful nor correct, that can make the problem way harder, for one thing. And it's also not what was asked, right? So try to pay special attention to that as you're looking at the solutions. Ask yourself the question, is that a confusion that I have? Because if it is, you need to try to fix that. It's an easy thing to fix, right? Factoring, when we do factoring, the answer is an expression. When we solve an equation, the answer is either nothing at all, or it's usually a finite list of answers, right? When we solve an inequality, the answer is typically, either nothing at all, or it could be some kind of interval, and I've asked you to use interval notation a lot of places. All right, now that I got that out of my system, let's talk about your quiz 1. And if you guys, I know you guys made those mistakes because I graded both sections homework, and I saw the same mistakes in both sections, right? Because people are people. And, the confusion about the distinction between factoring and solving is one that persists with students. Like it's a very common confusion, but it's one we need to like strike down. So does this first question here make sense? Did I hear more or less? Did I hear a negatory? All right, so my approach there was to use point slope, find the slope, and then plug it into the point slope formula. By the way, I would have been totally, if you like, put a box around this right here, I would have been chill with, that would have been fine, totally fine, copacetic, like there. What's that? Well, then I give you part of the points. Unless I'm grading really fast and I might miss it. But you think, but anyway, I hope you guys see how to do problem number 1 if it was to come back up again, right? Problem 2. So, popular wrong way to think about this is just to erase the inequalities and just say that's x minus 1 greater than 3, so it's x greater than 4 as a solution, right? But that's not how these work. If you have an absolute value quantity is greater than something else, they're two different cases and they're disjoint usually. You either have x minus 1 is less than minus 3, or you have x minus 1 is greater than 3, which is the one probably, everybody probably has that case in their solution more than likely. But there are two cases, this or that, which gives us this as our answer. Find the domain of the expression 10 minus 2x. So notice that the square root is downstairs, right? So this one, we need that to be positive, right? Because otherwise, if it's 0, then we're in trouble because we'd have division by 0, right? So what we want is, to have the input to the square root be positive, and as such, we want 10 minus 2x to be positive, which we can solve. I think I want to zoom in a little bit. Yep. No, I'll just have to be, probably should zoom out a little bit, otherwise all of a sudden I'll be out of frame. Some of us aren't here today, So, so does this line of logic make sense to you guys? All right, if something doesn't make sense, you just gotta like stop me, all right? And say, hey, could you explain that more? All right. The bane of the of students' existence, the dreaded law of exponents question. I think I should have opted for a slightly higher scan resolution. This is a minus 2. This is a minus 1. This is a 3. That's a cube root. I do have the original copy of the quiz posted in course content as well. So if you can't read something here, you can look at that too. And that's the original PDF created from the program I use, the LaTeX. You'll be able to read it in crystal clarity in the other PDF if it's for some reason sketchy here. I'll opt for a higher resolution next time I scan something, though. I see that now. All right, well, let's track through it one step at a time here. So first of all, I have y to the minus 2, and down here I have y to the 3 downstairs, right? So if I bring that y upstairs, it makes minus 3. So y to the minus 2 minus 3 from that, right? X minus 1 downstairs becomes x to the 1 upstairs, right? And then if I have a product of 3 things cubed, it's the product of the cubes. So like it's x cubed, y to the minus 5 cubed, and then the cube root of xy cubed. So the cube root of xy cubed is just xy again. That's why I left this alone, just so I wouldn't have to mess with fractions. And then this is minus 5 times 3, which is minus 15, and then x cubed. And then so I think the answer to your question, where did the minus 14 come from, it's basically coming from the cube acting on the 5, the minus 5 to bring a minus 14, and then that compensates. So you probably, maybe you just had like minus 5 times y and got minus 4 or something. I don't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't always see what students did wrong. That's not one of my gifts. I used to work with somebody. He could stare at it, and he's like a, you know how people look for water, like with the divining rod or whatever. I don't believe in this sort of thing, but some people do. Anyway, he's kind of like that, but with students misunderstanding. He could just stare at a paper and he could explain it. It doesn't matter how crazy the mistake was. He could find a logic for it. It was his gift. That is not a gift I have. I just see something that's wrong, and I'm like, it's wrong. And then I try to decide if it's half right or a third right or a quarter right, or if it's just too far from right to have partial credit. There are things that you can write that are so offensive I won't give them partial credit. Like, it's possible. I am not like a professor I heard about once. There's a professor at Penn State who gives negative partial credit. You can do something so wrong on one question, you can lose points in other questions. It's possible. Yeah, yeah. Imagine that. That'd be higher stakes, wouldn't it? That's not how I grade. So fear not. Anyway, in fact, if you made an honest effort in your homework, I don't think I gave any score less than 15 out of 30. And that's not because you're at least half right. That's because I'm being kind. There are some homeworks in here that if you have a 15 in your homework, that means that bad things happened. And if I just went through like literal score, I probably might have given you a 10 or something out of 30. There's just a couple people like that who, maybe ran out of time or whatever. By and large, I saw a good effort on the homework, and I was very pleased with what I saw from everybody. We all have room to grow, of course, but a lot of good efforts on the homework. So we're good on this problem? I'm going to go on. Now, remember what I was talking about? Expression versus equation. This is an example. So I say, perform the addition and simplify the resulting expression. That means the answer is an expression. It's not a number. Some of you, there's probably somebody here who took this and set it equal to 0. Or set it equal to 1, right? That's not what you do here. That's not what's asked. I mean, that might be an interesting calculation, but it's not what's asked. So here we go. We just make a common denominator by multiplying 7 minus x over 7 minus x. And then I distribute 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times minus x is minus 2x. And then I bring it together. 3 plus 14 is 17. And minus x minus 2x is minus 3x. And that's it. Oh, yeah, you could also write this as 3x minus 17 over x minus 7. That would be the same. Like if you factor a minus out of the top and a minus out of the bottom, you could rewrite it as 3x minus 17 divided by x minus 7. That would be, not only would that be right, I would say it has a better sense of style than my answer. If you believe in that sort of thing. Let's see here. Factor each completely. There's 2 parts to this question. The first part is to find an expression, the factored completely. The second part of the question is to solve the corresponding equation, right? So factored completely, x squared minus 9x plus 20. I started by thinking 10 times 1. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't work though, because like if I had minus 10 times 1, that would be good, right? But the trouble is I've got a plus 20, so like minus 10 and 1 won't work as my factors. But I thought, oh, wait a minute, 4 times 5 is 9. 4 plus 5 is 9. But I got a negative there, right? So I probably want minus 4 times minus 5. I mean, this is my internal logic as I think about possible factoring of a polynomial, right? If that doesn't work out for me, I cut and run and I go to completing the square. Because completing the square is general. doesn't matter what the quadratic is, I can complete the square on it. It always is possible to complete the square. It is only sometimes possible to factor something nicely just using integers, right? Using whole numbers, like this one. So there it is, factored completely. And once I know that, then it's easy to read the solution off, because this can only be 0 if x is equal to 4 or x is equal to 5. So here, basically the thing is, the first thing, x squared plus 6x plus 9, this can be further simplified, right? Because that, when you complete the square on that piece, you get x plus, well, this, it is a square, right? That's x minus 3 squared, literally. Did I say minus? Really? So I was making this in office hours before class, and I thought, oh, I don't need to check my answers. I'll get this one right. Idiot. So that is a plus, right? Which means that should be plus, which means that should be plus, right? Which means this should be minus 3. So if you got x plus 3 squared and x equals minus 3 as the solution, good. You're right. I'm wrong. Well, currently. What's written there is wrong. Now, the x squared plus 4x plus 5, that is a, when you complete the square on that thing, we get x plus 2 squared plus 1, which goes to show you we can't factor that, right? If we get plus when we complete the square, that means it corresponds to like a complex solution. So, and, well, what was my wording there, actually? I said solve completely over the reals, right? So that means you don't have to worry about the complex solutions, right? Now, if I said find all solutions, real or complex, then you need to worry about that x squared plus 4x plus 5. You need to find the complex solution. I mean, if we put x equals to minus 2 plus or minus I, that would be a complex solution there. Yeah, I probably won't take off points for that, but, you know, I think you should give it some. Give you some? Plus 5. You guys are funny. Let's see here. You're being serious? So my wife was teaching my 7-year-old about the Boston Tea Party. And at the end of it, he's like, "Where's the party?" And he's like, "Fish don't like tea." These are great questions, you know. Why is it a tea party? You know? It's a fantastic question. I mean, anyway. Let's see here. Historical vandalism aside, let's get back to the math. So 2 times that. Uh-oh.
What is our speed test?
I have it. I just didn't print it out. I'm sorry. I mean, I did actually take the time to scan it this morning, but I ran out of time to make the copies before.
I'll be expecting it soon.
You'll be expecting it soon. All right. Well, one of these days. Let's see here. So, any questions about part A here? So I complete the square. Basically, completing the square just puts it to that. And so once you see that, the solution's just 5. Completing the square on this one gives me the x minus 6 quantity squared plus 3, right? And then that means to find the corresponding solution. Let me scroll up a bit here. To find the corresponding solution, we have to get x minus 6 squared equal to minus 3, which, take the square root of both sides, we get x minus 6 is equal to plus or minus the square root of minus 3, which is I times root 3. So solutions there are well, that's the thing, is if we take x minus 6 and we square this, right? That gives us x squared minus 12x plus 36, right? So to be fair, I have to subtract 36 to make up for adding the 36 in that square. That's completing the square. We have to subtract the... I did that wrong. Well, sorry. We,
I have another suggestion. If the majority of us get something wrong, we should get credit for it.
the more you
Like,
get...
let's say we all miss number 8.
You,
All get point for number 8.
so if everyone misses the same problem, they should all get points back?
Yep, or at least 90% of it.
Well, it's not really how I grade, but yeah. Let's see here. This one, absolute value of 2x plus 1 equal to 11. So remember, with an absolute value problem, we get two solutions usually. And so I go plus or minus 11. And so that works out to either minus 12 over 2 or 10 over 2, which is minus 6 or 5. I see some people rubbing their hands. Those look like hand rubbing of victory, if I know it. If I see a child doing that, I assume it's some sort of nefarious plot, evil scheme, so forth. X equals to 8 was the other. If you choose your adventure on the other way, it's 8. You do not have to do both. I said choose one. Problem 9. I have noticed about half of you have ignored the number line technique I shared with you in class. You need to learn the number line technique. I don't know what you did to solve the problem on the homework, but I gather it's not your work. I can only assume this because I've seen the same kind of like blah, 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 blah in lots of different people, and I don't believe that that's your work. I think it's like you take I heard something about photomath, so I believe that might be the answer photomath gives. I don't know. It doesn't matter. If it was your work, my apologies. I don't mean to insult you like that. But please learn the number line technique. It's like way easier to solve these than whatever that it was that you were doing. Yeah. I said use an appropriate technique, so you probably still be okay. And if you did it on the quiz, then I believe it was your work. If you did it on the homework, and I've got like this mess of stuff I can't quite follow, it makes me suspicious. That's good. I'll have to look, but let's see here. So you got that? Good. Finally, the triangle. You got that one? That's good. So you look at it, you can see the base and the height because it's one of the sides is, you know. If I wanted to make the test harder, what would I do? How could I make this problem like significantly more difficult? Make it a challenge problem. Just don't. You guys are fine. What if I just make sure that no side of the triangle is either horizontal or vertical? See, if I did that, then you'd have to think harder, wouldn't you? So you have to be able to complete the square to solve this problem, right? There's that one. And as you can see, I ran out of paper. Yeah, for the test, what? Like I said, the announcement I just sent, you can look at the quiz from either section. Those are questions I think are definitely appropriate for the test. I usually try to pick something also from the homework. I do want you to look at missions 1 and 2 as you study. So, and then if you need to dive deeper into something, I would say then go back to the recommended homework. That would be my suggestion. Order of operations. Yep. Thanks, guys. Oh, can you hit the stop record, Evan?